Eliot Laurence Spitzer is an American lawyer, political commentator, and Democratic Party politician who served as the 54th governor of New York from January 2007 until his resignation on March 17, 2008. He most recently ran as a candidate for New York City Comptroller, losing the Democratic nomination to Scott Stringer. His resignation as governor resulted from the aftermath of a prostitution scandal. Prior to being elected governor, Spitzer served as New York State Attorney General. After serving as governor, he became a political commentator, and was most recently the host of Viewpoint with Eliot Spitzer, a nightly news and commentary program on Current TV, which he later left. Prior to Viewpoint, he was the co-host of In the Arena a talk show and punditry forum broadcast on CNN from October 2010 to July 2011. He grew up in the Bronx, New York, as the third and youngest child of real estate tycoon Bernard Spitzer and Anne Goldhaber, both Austrian Jewish immigrants in New York. He attended Princeton University for undergraduate studies and then Harvard Law School for his Juris Doctor. It was there that he met his future wife, Silda Wall. He went on to work for the law firm of Paul, Weiss, Rifkind, Wharton and Garrison, and subsequently the Manhattan District Attorney's Office to pursue organized crime. He launched the investigation that brought down the Gambino crime family's control over Manhattan's garment and trucking industries. In 1994, Spitzer left to work at the law firm of Skadden, Arps, Slate, Meagher and Flom and, later, Constantine and Partners. In the 1998 election, Spitzer defeated incumbent Republican Dennis Vacco by a slim margin to become New York State Attorney General. His campaign was financed by a controversial multi-million-dollar loan from his father. As Attorney General, Spitzer prosecuted cases relating to corporate white-collar crime, securities fraud, internet fraud and environmental protection. He pursued cases against computer chip price fixing, investment bank stock price inflation, predatory lending practices by mortgage lenders, fraud at American International Group, and the 2003 mutual funds scandal. He also sued Richard Grasso, the former chairman of the New York Stock Exchange, over a compensation package perceived to be excessive. In 2007, Spitzer was inaugurated governor of New York after defeating Republican John Faso. During his time in office, he proposed a bill to legalize same-sex marriage in New York and issued an executive order allowing undocumented immigrants to be issued driver's licenses. Both attracted controversy. In July 2007, he was admonished for his administration's involvement in ordering the New York State Police to record the whereabouts of State Senate Majority Leader Joseph L. Bruno. On March 10, 2008, it was reported that Spitzer was a client of Emperor's Club VIP. The scandal prompted him to resign as governor on March 17. On July 7, 2013, Spitzer announced he would be running for New York City Comptroller, adding he was hopeful there will be forgiveness. I am asking for it. On September 10, 2013, Spitzer lost the Democratic primary to Manhattan Borough President Scott Stringer. Early life and education: Spitzer was born on June 10, 1959, in the Bronx, the son of Anne, an English literature professor, and Bernard Spitzer, a real estate mogul. His paternal grandparents were Galician Jews, born in Tlost, Poland. His maternal grandparents, born in the 1890s, were Jewish immigrants from Palestine. Spitzer is the youngest of 3 children. He was raised in the affluent Riverdale section of the Bronx in New York City. His family was not particularly religious, and Spitzer did not have a bar mitzvah. He is a 1977 graduate of Horace Mann School. After scoring 1590 out of 1600 on the Scholastic Aptitude Test, Spitzer attended Princeton University and majored in the Woodrow Wilson School of Public and International Affairs. At Princeton, he was elected chairman of the undergraduate student government, and graduated in 1981. He claims he received a perfect score on the law school admission test, and went on to attend Harvard Law School, where he met and married Silda Wall. Spitzer was an editor of the Harvard Law Review. Legal career: upon receiving his Juris Doctor, Spitzer clerked for Judge Robert W. Sweets in Manhattan, then joined the law firm of Paul, Vice, Rifkind, Wharton and Garrison. He stayed there for less than 2 years before leaving to join the New York County District Attorney's Office. Spitzer joined the staff of Manhattan District Attorney Robert M. Morgenthaler, where he became chief of the labor racketeering unit, spending 6 years pursuing organized crime. His biggest case came in 1992, when Spitzer led the investigation that ended the Gambino crime family's organized crime control of Manhattan's trucking and garment industries. Spitzer devised a plan to set up his own sweatshop in the city's garment district, turning out shirts, pants and sweaters, and hiring 30 laborers. The shop manager eventually got close to the Gambinos, and officials were able to plant a bug in their office. The Gambinos, rather than being charged with extortion which was hard to prove were charged with antitrust violations. Joseph and Thomas Gambino, the latter being an extremely high-ranking member, and 2 other defendants took the deal and avoided jail by pleading guilty, paying $12 million in fines and agreeing to stay out of the business. Spitzer left the district attorney's office in 1992 to work at the law firm of Skadden, Arps, Slate, Meagher and Flom. From 1994 to 1998 he worked at the law firm Constantine & Partners on a number of consumer rights and antitrust cases. New York Attorney General elections. 1994, long-serving Democratic New York State Attorney General Robert Abrams decided to resign after he failed to defeat Republican U.S. Senator Al D'Amato in 1992. The New York State Legislature elected Assemblyman G. Oliver Koppel to serve the remainder of the term in 1993. 34-year-old Spitzer decided to run as well as Koppel, Brooklyn Family Court Judge Karen Burstein, and Kings County DA Charles J. Hines. At the time, Spitzer was a young and unknown white-collar attorney. On May 5, when he announced he would run, he ran for using the state's antitrust laws to go after corporate polluters. Spitzer was the only candidate to support the death penalty. In the debate, he was criticized for spending $3 million of his own money. Despite heavy funding from his own family, he placed last among 4 candidates for the nomination, receiving just 19% of the vote. Bernstein, the only woman and gay candidate, won the primary with 31% of vote. Bernstein subsequently lost to Republican Dennis Vacco in the general election, part of a nationwide Republican sweep that included the election of Governor George Pataki. 1998, that election of a Republican in 1994 allowed Spitzer to run again in 1998. On May 6, 1998 he announced he would run for the office again. On May 28, he emerged as the front-runner in the race, ranking first at the convention with 36% of the vote. He also had the most amount of money, with over $2 million. In September, he won the Democratic primary election with 42% of the vote. He defeated State Senator Catherine Abbott, Koppel, and former Governor's Counsel Evan Davis. In late October, he conceded that his father lent him most of the money he raised. He financed both campaigns from 2 sets of loans, $4.3 million in 1994 and $4.8 million in 1998. Both from J.P. Morgan and Company. Spitzer stated, "I have worked long hours for my dad and for various businesses. Look, I'm not saying that I am underpaid. But any effort to challenge the propriety of that fee is way off base." On October 28, the New York Times endorsed Spitzer, saying both candidates were flawed but Vacco's performance and his key policy positions make him an even worse choice. In only 4 years Mr. Vacco has turned an important office with a distinguished public service tradition into a patronage mill known for taking suspect contributions and for his mixed record on such key issues as women's right to abortion. They also said Spitzer has promised a politically moderate approach that puts the public interest ahead of rigid philosophy and special interest contributors. In November, Spitzer went on to defeat Republican incumbent Dennis Vacco by a small margin of victory of 0.6%. Spitzer didn't win a single county in the upstate. Amazingly, he won just 6 counties in the state: New York, Bronx, Kings, Queens, Westchester, and Rockland. 2002, he ran for re-election to a second term in 2002. Spitzer defeated Republican Judge Dora Irizarry 66% to 30%. Tenure overview. As Attorney General, Spitzer stepped up the profile of the office. Traditionally, state attorneys general have pursued consumer rights cases, concentrating on local fraud while deferring national issues to the federal government. Breaking with this traditional deference, Spitzer took up civil actions and criminal prosecutions relating to corporate white-collar crime, securities fraud, internet fraud, and environmental protection. The New York Attorney General's office has Wall Street within its jurisdiction. Also, the New York Attorney General wields greater than usual powers of investigation and prosecution of corporations under New York State's general business law. In particular, under the Martin Act of 1921, the New York Attorney General has the power to subpoena witnesses and company documents pertaining to investigations of fraud or illegal activity by a corporation. Spitzer used this statute to allow his office to prosecute cases which have been described as within federal jurisdiction. Spitzer used this authority in his civil actions against corporations and criminal prosecutions against their officers. It proved useful in the wake of several U.S. corporate scandals that began with the collapse of Enron in 2001. Several of these corporations, as well as the brokerage houses that sold their stock, were accused of having inflated stock values by unethical means throughout the 1990s. When inquiries into these allegations by the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission and Congress failed, Spitzer's office used its subpoena power to obtain corporate documents, building cases against the firms both in courtrooms and in public opinion. Under his watch, Spitzer also commissioned a 1999 study of the NYPD's stop and frisk practices. In 2004, the nation endorsed Spitzer as a possible Democratic candidate for vice president, stating that he was the single most effective battler against corporate abuses in either political party. He was, however, not chosen. In January 2005, the president of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce described Spitzer's approach as the most egregious and unacceptable form of intimidation we've seen in this country in modern times. Notable cases. In addition to prosecutions and civil actions in the financial sector, Spitzer has pursued cases in both state and federal courts involving pollution, entertainment, technology, prostitution, corruption, occupational safety and health and other fields in which New York plays a part in setting and maintaining national standards of conduct. Loan investigation controversy. The New York State Senate Investigations Committee is considering investigating a controversial multi-million-dollar loan the governor's father Bernard Spitzer gave him when he ran for Attorney General in 1998, a loan the younger Spitzer has paid back. Senate Investigations Committee Chairman George Winner told the New York Post that subpoenas should be used to find out about the loans. Winner wrote to Senate Elections Committee Chairman Senator Joseph Griffo that an article profiling Spitzer in New York Magazine outlined what may have been a willful effort by Eliot Spitzer and his father to circumvent campaign contribution limits in New York state law and then conceal their actions. In 1998, Spitzer claimed that he secured the $5 million loan by mortgaging apartments his father had given him, but later revealed that his father was paying off the loans and, therefore, financing his campaign. 2006 election for governor. On December 8, 2004, Spitzer announced his intention to seek the Democratic nomination for governor of New York. While long rumored, Spitzer's announcement was unusually early, nearly 2 years before the election. As a result of Spitzer's relative speed in bringing state Democrats to his side, he gained the respect of Democratic leaders nationwide. New Mexico Governor Bill Richardson dubbed Spitzer the future of the Democratic Party at a fundraiser held in June 2005 for Spitzer's gubernatorial campaign. In January 2006, Spitzer selected New York State Senate Minority Leader David Paterson as his choice for lieutenant governor and running mate. After announcing his candidacy, Spitzer was endorsed by numerous New Yorkers, including State Comptroller Alan Hevesi and two former New York City mayors, David Dinkins and Ed Koch. On May 30, 2006, Spitzer and Paterson won the endorsement of the New York State Democratic Party. A June 2006 Quinnipiac University Polling Institute poll showed him leading Nassau County Executive Thomas Swazi 76.13%. On July 25, 2006, he faced Swazi in a gubernatorial debate held at Pace University in Manhattan, discussing issues such as public authorities and Medicaid. When asked about marijuana, Spitzer stated that he disagrees with medicinal use of the drug, claiming that other medicines were more effective. In the Democratic primary held on September 12, 2006, Spitzer handily defeated Swazi, securing his party's nomination with 81% of the vote. On October 5, Spitzer, addressing the Empire State Pride agenda, declared that as governor he would work to legalize gay marriage in New York. Spitzer was elected governor on November 7, 2006, with 69% of the vote, defeating Republican John Faso and Libertarian John Clifton, among others. Governorship. At the traditional midnight ceremony, Spitzer was sworn in as governor of New York on January 1, 2007. A public ceremony was held at 1 p.m. on the same day, which featured brass and percussion players from the Empire State Youth Orchestra backing tradition. The ceremony was held outdoors, the first outdoor inauguration ceremony in New York for over a century. After taking the oath of office, he attended a concert at the Times Union Center in his honor, headlined by James Taylor and Natalie Merchant. Legislative measures supported: Jonathan's Law, Roadblocks to Reform, Spitzer's reform-based platform, and his pledge to change the ethics of Albany, hit an early roadblock when his ideas on how to fill vacancies in the executive department were defeated by the state legislature. According to the New York State Constitution, it is the duty of the state legislature to fill executive vacancies. The governor was criticized as unreasonable for admonishing the legislature when it took constitutional actions. The appointment of State Assemblyman Thomas D. Napoli to succeed the disgraced Alan Hevesy as New York State Comptroller was a serious blow to the new governor. Spitzer had backed an outside panel to draft a list of qualified candidates. The legislature resisted Spitzer's desires when these included no legislators. Some Assembly Democrats were alienated over the incident, and questioned Spitzer's refusal of extending patronage to party members seeking local political appointments. Spitzer's choice was New York City Finance Commissioner Martha Stark, who was selected by a panel that consisted of former State Comptroller Edward Reagan, former State Comptroller Carl McCall and former New York City Comptroller Harrison J. Goldin. On February 7, 2007, when the legislature voted, Stark was one of two names put into nomination, along with Assemblyman Thomas D. Napoli of Long Island, Assembly Leader Sheldon Silver's choice. The final vote was 150 for D. Napoli and 56 for Stark. Stark's main support came from Democrats in the Senate, along with Republicans in both chambers. Spitzer traveled to the home districts of Democratic Assemblyman William B. Magnarelli and George S. Latimer, and publicly criticized them for their votes on D. Napoli. He had plans to exert similar pressure on other of his party's legislators. One of Spitzer's key campaign pledges was to reform the state budget process. While the state did pass a budget on schedule in 2007, the ultimate results fell short of what many reformers hoped Spitzer would achieve. The New York Post opined, Spitzer promised reform, and delivered something completely different, and termed the budget itself bitterly disappointing. Spitzer's budget quickly turned into a deficit, as by the end of October it was projected the state would run a deficit exceeding $4 billion for the year. During Spitzer's first year the state payroll increased, aggravating budget problem. Despite increasing the public sector payroll, in late 2007 New York State started leading the nation in lost jobs. The 2008-09 budget includes measures to counter financial effects of the crisis in the financial sector starting in the second half of 2007. Spitzer was criticized by members of the New York State legislature for failing to compromise on issues during his first few months as governor. In one exchange, according to the New York Post, Spitzer told New York State Assembly Minority Leader James T. Disco, "Listen, I'm A.F. King, sick on Post website steamroller and I'll roll over you and anybody else," although they reported that neither party had provided the confirmation the Post sought. Spitzer's reputation as a steamroller was shared by a plurality of New Yorkers in a Quinnipiac University poll, but by a 3-to-1 margin they believed the tactic had been unsuccessful and had only added to political gridlock. Tedesco later accused Spitzer of cutting $300,000 of state funding for healthcare and education grants in the Schenectady area as retaliation for Tedesco's opposition to the Spitzer plan to allow illegal immigrants New York State driver's licenses. Tedesco accused the governor of dirty tricks and bullying. In the wake of the controversy involving the political surveillance controversy involving Bruno, Spitzer was accused of pandering to special interest groups to solidify his base of support. The governor who took office vowing to clean up Albany has lost so much public support that he is reduced to feathering the nest of the unions and other liberals, wrote Michael Goodwin of the Daily News. In February 2008, The Washington Post published an op-ed written by Spitzer in which he criticized the Bush administration for inhibiting states from pursuing predatory lenders. Proposal to legalize same-sex marriage. In April 2007, Spitzer proposed a bill that would legalize same-sex marriage in New York. State Senate Majority Leader Joe Bruno announced his opposition to the proposal. This legislation passed in the State Assembly on June 19, 2007, but was denied in the State Senate and was returned to the Assembly. Controversy over use of state police for surveillance. On July 23, 2007, New York Attorney General Andrew Cuomo's office admonished the Spitzer administration for ordering the state police to keep special records of Senate Majority Leader Joseph Bruno's whereabouts when he traveled with police escorts in New York City. A 57-page report issued by the Attorney General's office concluded that Spitzer engaged in creating media coverage concerning Senator Bruno's travel. The investigation looked into both Bruno's travel and the Senate leader's allegation that Spitzer used state police to spy on him. Cuomo concluded that these emails show that persons in the governor's office did not merely produce records under a Freedom of Information law request, but were instead engaged in planning and producing media coverage concerning Senator Bruno's travel on state aircraft before any FOIA request was made. It also suggests that the governor's staff lied when they tried to explain what they had done and forced the state police to go far beyond their normal procedures in documenting Bruno's whereabouts. The report cleared Bruno of any misuse of the state's air fleet, which had been alleged. The report criticized Spitzer's office for using state police resources to gather information about Bruno's travel and releasing the information to the media. The findings of the report were endorsed by Spitzer's own Inspector General, Christine Hammann. Spitzer responded at a July 23 press conference that as governor, I am accountable for what goes on in the executive branch and I accept responsibility for the actions of my office, and that his administration had grossly mishandled the situation. Spitzer subsequently announced that he would indefinitely suspend his communications director, Darren Dopp, and reassign another top official. When questioned about his promise to bring ethical responsibility to state politics, Spitzer responded by saying I will not tolerate this behavior, ethics and accountability must and will remain rigorous in my administration, and that I have always stated that I want ethics and integrity to be the hallmarks of my administration. That is why I requested that the State Inspector General review the allegations with respect to my office, and that is why we have fully cooperated with both inquiries. The investigations of the event, dubbed Troopergate by media outlets, have not been affected by Spitzer's resignation. As of March 2008, 4 probes by the State Attorney General's Office, the State Senate Investigations Committee, the Albany County District Attorney's Office, and the New York Commission on Public Integrity are ongoing. Controversy over driver's licenses for undocumented immigrants. On September 21, 2007, Spitzer issued an executive order directing that state offices allow undocumented immigrants to be issued driver's licenses effective December 2007. Applicants for driver's licenses would not be required to prove legal immigration status and would be allowed to present a foreign passport as identification. After meeting with the Department of Homeland Security in October 2007, Spitzer altered the plan so that licenses issued to migrant workers would look different from other licenses and that the new licenses would not allow access to airplanes and federal buildings. On October 21, 2007, the state Senate voted to oppose the Spitzer plan by a 39-19 vote. 8 Democrats from moderate districts broke with Spitzer on the vote. After the vote, the New York Times called this issue Mr. Spitzer's single most unpopular decision since he took office. Following the state Senate's vote, Spitzer revised his plan again, proposing the issuance of a third type of driver's license. This driver's license would be available only to United States citizens who are New York State residents, and would be valid for crossing the Canadian border. Spitzer also announced that the expiration dates of temporary visas would be printed on the driver's licenses of individuals living in the country with them. On November 14, the day following the release of a poll showing the proposal as extremely unpopular with voters, Spitzer announced he would withdraw the plan, acknowledging that it would never be implemented. The decision drew derision from the press, as the Associated Press termed this reversal a surrender. WCBS-TV labeled him Governor Flip-Flop. State Senator Ruba Copyright and Dawes of the Bronx said he was betrayed by Spitzer's abandonment of the plan. Approval as governor. As of November 13, 2007, Spitzer's approval rating as governor was 33%, a further decline from his 44% approval rating of October 24, 2007. A later poll showed that New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg would defeat Spitzer were he to seek re-election. 2 polls in December 2007 showed further erosion in Spitzer's public standing. Prostitution scandal. On March 10, 2008, the New York Times reported that Spitzer had previously patronized a high-priced prostitution service called Emperor's Club VIP and met for over 2 hours with a $1,000 an hour call girl. This information originally came to the attention of authorities from a federal wiretap. Spitzer had at least 7 or 8 liaisons with women from the agency over 6 months, and paid more than $15,000. According to published reports, investigators believe Spitzer paid up to $80,000 for prostitutes over a period of several years while he was Attorney General, and later as governor. Spitzer first drew the attention of federal investigators when his bank reported suspicious money transfers under the anti-money laundering provisions of the Bank Secrecy Act and the Patriot Act. The resulting investigation, triggered by the belief that Spitzer may have been hiding bribe proceeds, led to the discovery of the prostitution ring. Resignation. In the wake of the revelations, Spitzer announced on March 12, 2008, that he would resign his post as governor at noon on March 17, 2008, amid threats of his impeachment by state lawmakers. "I cannot allow for my private failings to disrupt the people's work," Spitzer said at a news conference in New York City. "Over the course of my public life, I have insisted I believe correctly that people take responsibility for their conduct. I can and will ask no less of myself. For this reason, I am resigning from the office of governor." Spitzer's lieutenant governor, David Paterson, succeeded him as governor of New York State. Post-resignation developments. On July 16, 2008, the New York Times made public that Spitzer used campaign funds to pay for 2 Mayflower hotel bookings, $411.06 apiece, where he was suspected to have met with prostitutes. While it remains unclear if Spitzer stayed in the hotel on the nights he booked, the Times has stated that Spitzer met with prostitutes in early 2008. Spitzer declined to comment on the issue. In November 2008, prosecutors in charge of the case announced that Spitzer would not face criminal charges for his involvement in the sex ring, citing they found no evidence of misuse of public funds and therefore pressing charges would not serve the public interest. Spitzer offered an apology for his conduct, saying, "I appreciate the impartiality and thoroughness of the investigation by the U.S. Attorney's Office, and I acknowledge and accept responsibility for the conduct it disclosed." On May 31, 2013, Spitzer and his wife were reported to be living apart. Post-resignation media and public appearances. Since resigning, Spitzer has become a regular columnist for Slate and slowly begun a return to the limelight. Close friends have stated that Spitzer spends most of his time with his family, and regularly meets with lawyers in his father Bernard's real estate office in Manhattan. Spitzer and his wife have entered couples therapy because of Spitzer's adultery. In September 2008, the New York Times reported that Spitzer was considering entering philanthropic, environmental, or pro bono legal work in an effort to improve his reputation. According to some sources, Spitzer was considering a run for Senate or Comptroller in 2010, speculation which Spitzer immediately dismissed. Spitzer continued to make public appearances and engage in media commitments following his resignation. The Washington Post published a Spitzer opinion piece in November 2008 conveying his analysis of the financial crisis of 2008 and suggested remedies. Spitzer concluded the piece by saying that he hoped the Obama administration would make the right policy choices, although mistakes I made in my private life now prevent me from participating in these issues as I have in the past. The following month, Slate magazine published the first of a new series of columns by Spitzer dedicated to the economy. In September 2009, Spitzer joined the City College of New York as an adjunct instructor of political science and is currently teaching an undergraduate course called Law and Public Policy. Spitzer took on various public speaking arrangements, beginning with a discussion with the New York chapter of the Entrepreneurs Organization on June 17, 2009. He also made a number of television appearances in 2009 and 2010, including Real Time with Bill Maher and Campbell Brown, as well as appearing as a substitute anchor on MSNBC. On June 24, 2010, CNN announced that Spitzer would be joining the network to host a roundtable discussion program alongside center-right Kathleen Parker. Parker Spitzer, compared by some media outlets to the defunct Crossfire, replaced Campbell Brown in the 8 p.m. Eastern time slot on weeknights starting in October. In February 2011, CNN announced that Parker was leaving the show, which was renamed In the Arena on February 28, 2011. On July 6, 2011, CNN announced it was canceling In the Arena and shifting Anderson Cooper 360 a degree to the 8 p.m. time slot. On March 30, 2012, Spitzer joined Current TV in the wake of Keith Olbermann's sudden firing from the network, and immediately began hosting his own program Viewpoint with Eliot Spitzer. On August 22, 2011, the New York Times reported that Spitzer has been sued for a combined $90 million over an August 22, 2010 Slate column about Wall Street firm Marsh & McLennan by two former executives of the company, claiming that they were libeled by the column. The lawsuit by one of the executives was dismissed the following year. On January 6, 2013, Spitzer announced that he had left both Viewpoint and Current TV, and that he would not be joining Current TV in its latest venture with Al Jazeera. Moving forward, their mission will be different, he said. He also stated, "For me, journalism has been more a matter of projecting a particular approach to covering policies, to covering issues. It was a continuation of what I tried to do in government. And that doesn't fit with their vision of what they are going to do." 2013 election for NYC Comptroller. On July 7, 2013, Spitzer announced he was running for New York City Comptroller, and would start a petition the following day. 3,750 valid signatures from registered voters from his party were required by July 11 to register for the race, but Spitzer was able to submit over 27,000 signatures to the City Board of Elections before the deadline. Spitzer commented that he was asking for forgiveness, and hopeful that voters could forgive him. Eliot Spitzer lost the primary on September 10, 2013 to Scott Stringer. Personal life: Silda and Eliot married on October 17, 1987, and together they have three daughters, Alyssa, Sarabeth, and Jenna. At the close of 2013, Spitzer and his wife announced the end of their marriage. Spitzer is reported to have had a romantic affair with Lee Smith, a 31-year-old spokesperson for then New York City Mayor-elect Bill de Blasio. She had been Spitzer's spokesperson during his 2013 run for comptroller. See also, Client 9, The Rise and Fall of Eliot Spitzer, Inside Job documentary on the 2008 crisis, references. External links, biographies and profiles, Time Crusader of the Year 2002, Eliot Spitzer, by Odi Ignatius, December 21, 2002 issue of Time. Corruption probe hits U.S. insurers BBC News Online, October 15, 2004. Spoiling for a Fight, The Rise of Eliot Spitzer by Brooke A. Masters, The Small Laws, Eliot Spitzer and the Way to Insurance Market Reform, by Sean M. Fitzpatrick, 74 Fordham Mill Rev. 3041, Interviews, Eliot Spitzer on Politicking with Larry King, Kugel, Allison. Eliot Spitzer talks rebuilding his image and not regretting tough decisions. PR.com. Frontline, The Wall Street Fixer from the PBS series Frontline, dated April 16, 2003. Now with Bill Moyers, New York Attorney General Eliot Spitzer streaming video and transcripts of Spitzer's multiple interviews on the PBS series Now with Bill Moyers. The Pollution Buster interview with Elizabeth Colbert in fall 2004 issue of On Earth magazine, publication of the Natural Resources Defense Council, Eliot Spitzer, Jithna, Bernanke complicit in financial crisis and should go video report by Democracy Now! Big Think interview with Eliot Spitzer video interview with BigThink.com, dated January 28, 2010. Media coverage, Eliot Spitzer in the Newsom archive of front-page images from March 13, 2008. Breaking legal news Eliot L. Spitzer collection of news of Eliot Spitzer, corruption probe hits U.S. insurers BBC coverage of Spitzer's probe of insurance industry practices, October 15, 2004. Spitzer targets music companies BBC coverage of Spitzer's prosecution of Payola, October 22, 2004, Greg Palast, Eliot's Mess, Greg Palast interview on Spitzer scandal timing, critics, Attorney General Watch blog of the American Enterprise Institute, a conservative think tank, critical of Eliot Spitzer and other state attorneys general. Not Spitzer's Job article by Alan Reynolds, Senior Fellow of the Cato Institute, a libertarian think tank. Reprinted from the Wall Street Journal, The Passion of Eliot Spitzer, Is He Telling the Truth as He Tries to Take People Out? By Kimberly A. Strassel, The Wall Street Journal, May 2006, Eliot Spitzer's Real Agenda. Is Eliot Spitzer by Kimberly A. Strassel, The Wall Street Journal, May 2006, Power Corrupts, Eliot, 6 Spitzer's record as NY Attorney General by Alan Reynolds, Cato at Liberty, March 8, 2008. Reports, FBI affidavit regarding the Emperor's Club VIP scandal, predatory lender's partner in crime. Spitzer, Eliot, The Washington Post, February 14, 2008.